to understand a little bit the reality employers live in when it comes to understanding how migration impacts employers. We live in a continued workers and skills shortage everywhere in the world. There's a recent study which highlighted that 75% of employers report difficulties filling roles. So we cannot find the skills that we need to run our operations. And this is not going to stop because we're all transitioning to net zero emissions objectives by 2050 that governments have all adhered to. So the skills shortage will be there. We will need green skills, we will need new skills, and those skills are not available. A second reality is the skills mismatch, meaning that the training that people have are not adapted to the labor market needs. So again, employers cannot find the skills that they need. And one of the solutions is the skills mobility, is migration, bringing people from abroad to fill these vacancies. So I'm not saying that migration is a magic fix, which will fix all the solutions, but it can be a part of the solution. Bringing talent in where the talent are needed. So this is a huge impact for businesses. When it comes to migration, governments tend to close borders, tend to use the argument for electoral purposes. And this is not helpful for businesses who are trying to attract talent where needed. So what we're asking is, for governments to improve legal pathways to hire people. So this means having the possibility of requiring work permits. There's an issue of bringing the skills in, and then an issue of recognizing the skills and the certifications. We've identified 4 areas where labor mobility interacts with the ability of businesses to adapt to climate change impacts. The first one is the labor mobility will be required to fill skills shortages related to the low carbon transition. As I said, we have skills gaps and we will need to have labor mobility help us to fill these skills gaps in this green transition. The second is that businesses will need to adjust to changes in the size and composition of the workforce. We see that large-scale movement of people risk a rise in informality, and at the same time, the transition to a green economy is creating more opportunities for the existing labor force. So we're looking at how the businesses will need to adjust to these changes in their own workforces. The third is we're looking at the businesses and in particular SMEs who are at particular risk when it comes to climate change and how we can help them sustain and be resilient as they face those climate change impacts. And finally, we look at climate change impact and responses on attracting and retaining employees. Employers will increasingly have to address the impacts of climate change, not only on their infrastructures and operations, but also on their employees. We see that extreme heat can have an impact on the workforce, and this needs to be addressed by the employers to make sure that the workers are protected and can work in conditions that are healthy for all, and also in the sense of attracting the young generation to the companies. And a company needs to showcase, the good that they do, in particular when it comes to climate change and to climate change operations or programs they put in place, which are quite attractive for the young generation entering the labor market. We need migration to happen in a safe, regular way. So we need channels for people to migrate through regular pathways, which would protect them and which would ensure that they have access to employment in a safe way. Second one is we need frameworks for responsible recruitment, which means no worker should pay to have access to a job. Responsible recruitment means that the recruitment, cross-border recruitment, happens in a fair, an ethical, and a responsible way. Workers go from country A to country B to find a job through legal pathways, and they don't pay intermediaries to have access to a job. And that's a huge point in ensuring that migrant workers are protected.